I remember a couple of months ago, I was telling you guys how one of my aunts had a post about how children are opting for changing which college they go to and which classes they take, depending on how demanding some of them are. Well, I thought I would also feature my grandma, one of my grandmas, here with a post that I saw her make because it goes back to a topic I talked about a year ago. It was closer to the springtime, if I'm not mistaken. And I was talking about how music impacts your mood. Well, this one has to do with how my grandma was upset about how she wakes up to music that has lyrical content that's a little bit on the urban without modesty side of it. And when I go over it, you'll understand what I mean. Her post goes, "How is this possible?" with three exclamation marks and three question marks. "Right before school starts, I am awakened by a deafening scandal with infernal music, with lyrics that are demeaning. For instance, I will look at your woman low profile, meaning when you peep at someone, but without being noticed that you're peeping at them, pretty much under the radar, and the other gestures lacking class to be headed toward school with students instead of invoking God to ask for peace and wisdom. Is this the way you expect to stop violence, especially in schools? Everybody knows that this is wrong, but nobody dares to denounce these things. And when it comes to that, I can tell you that I understand where she's coming from. I agree to a certain extent. I do feel like music, if you take it to heart, if you let these people who are doing the singing become your idols, become your influences, if you take them very seriously, then yes, I can see how you can be an impressionable being and you will be invoking those negative things to happen. But I also think that you, as an adult, you ought to be responsible for how you behave anyway and how you already should know right from wrong. Because, say, if we studied history and we learned that things like wars and people being ended and things like that are bad and they're wrong, then we are all going to grow up to be adults who commit something like that because during our impressionable age, we learned about that. Yet, because we learned about that, it didn't mean we would stop committing those acts. So, with something like this, I always say you are responsible for who and what you let influence you. In the daily, I can tell you that I'm feeling continuously under attack because there's always someone who's going to be impolite, someone who's going to be inconsiderate, not paying attention, not kind, all those things. But just because I experience those things, it doesn't mean that I'm going to absorb it and make it the norm for me to give out the same bullshit that I receive. Music is no different. You may be absorbing a lot of music that unfortunately what gets produced and what goes popular is the stuff that's shocking, impressive, I guess, or anything that attracts attention. It tends to have a condition attached to it, and usually it means that there's something bad going on. It's no different from models, for instance. Why do things get promoted with attractive looking people? Because that's the first thing you see, that's the first impression you get. Therefore, you're more likely to act on something if the surface of it looks good. People are more likely to indulge in music and want to blare it out if the impression of it is interesting, if it's high energy, if the beat is very simple, repetitive, and easy to listen to, and especially something that will get your blood flowing That's what people go for. That's what people enjoy. That's what people want to blare out. But I also think at some point you need to establish some balance. Like I can tell you that I don't focus on just one genre of music. I need to have diversity. And some of the songs that I listen to will dwell on politics. Some of them will be romantic, of course. Some of them will be angry. Some of them will be about despair, about heartbreak, etc. All of that. There is a spectrum. I would expect that everybody who's a casual listener of music experiences something like that. Does that mean that you are a rainbow of emotions? Of course, because we all have different feelings. That's why we're not born with just one default feeling. I was born angry, therefore I'm explosive all the time. I was born calm, therefore nothing gets to me. We are multifaceted. So why wouldn't you also indulge in multifaceted music? And let's face it, Christian music is not always necessarily the kind of music that you're like, heck yeah, this has a killer beat and everything. Therefore, I'm gonna blare it out because that kind of music tends to be more on the simple side. At least what I have experienced as Christian music, it tends to be very simple. Whereas some of the other simple kind of music, they tend to have crazy things going on, like excess use of synthesizers or distortion of voices, whereas Christian music tends to limit themselves to being more authentic. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm also saying that there's nothing wrong with the kind of music that gets altered a lot too. I think that the only exception I could make is AI, because I feel like some AI sounds can be good, but if you're trying to make that the norm, just to pump content out, that's when I would have a problem. But outside of that, I really don't think that you should feel some type of way about music and how people blare their music out if it's not hurting you or doing anything to you. If you are affected by music mentally or emotionally, I think that is a thing that you have to address yourself and figure out why that has an effect on you. And that's pretty much it. I really don't have anything else to say or add. It's really that simple to me.